On Thursday, a Hamas delegation left Cairo, declaring in a statement that the organization will continue with Gaza ceasefire talks until an agreement is reached with Israel, at the same time blaming Israeli representatives for the lack of progress. In Haiti, political tension increases as human rights organizations highlight that more than 15,000 people have been displaced in the Haitian capital due to the increase of violence. In the United States, in northeast Philadelphia, 8 teens were shot waiting for a bus after school. Police is still at the hunt for the suspects who fled. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Thursday, a Hamas delegation left Cairo, declaring in a statement that the organization will continue with Gaza ceasefire talks until an agreement is reached with Israel, at the same time blaming Israeli representatives for the lack of progress. The departure of the Hamas delegation has the purpose to take the conditions for consultation with the leadership of the movement. The objective declared by Hamas statement are to pursue negotiations and efforts to stop the aggression, return the displaced citizens, and bring in relief aid to Gaza Strip population. Senior Hamas official Sami Abu Zuhriyatat declared that Israel was rejecting Hamas's demands to end its offensive in the enclave, withdraw its forces, and ensure freedom of aid entry and the return of displaced people. There was no immediate comment from Israel. On the eve of International Women's Day, the Palestinian Central Statistics Office revealed that Israeli occupation army have killed more than 8,000 women in 5 months of genocidal operations in Gaza. Data from Gaza shows that more than 31,000 Palestinians, many of them women and their children, have died as a result of the Israeli genocide. In this regard, according to official reports from the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, 1 out of 75 Gazans have died as a result of attacks by the occupation army throughout the Gaza Strip. Furthermore, the Palestinian Health Ministry also confirmed that 12,413 children between the West Bank and Gaza were killed, while 8,400 women were also murdered. Moreover, official sources added that the Tel Aviv regime so far left 8,663 children and 6,327 women wounded and more than 8,000 missing. In this regard, human rights organizations denounced that the data of this massacre show that every hour 15 people are killed in the Gaza Strip, among them 6 children. In this context, South Africa has urgently requested further interim measures against Israel from the International Court of Justice for flagrant violations of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. In the framework of the complaint filed in December, the African nation is once again before the court regarding the extreme emergency situation in the Strip, especially in regards with the widespread famine. The complaint also refers to the flagrant violations to the actions agreed upon by the Hague Court and asks for a modification of the previous ones to order Israel to allow humanitarian aid into the enclave and urgently guarantee the safety of 2.6 million people, including more than 1 million children. In China, Foreign Minister Wang Yi, during his speech this Thursday at the 14th National People's Assembly, described what is happening in Gaza as a tragedy for humanity and a disgrace for civilization in the 21st century. Ratifying his country's support to Palestine, he assured that the disaster in Gaza has reminded the world that it could no longer ignore the fact that the Palestinian territories have been occupied for many years. As several Latin American leaders have said, he stressed that the establishment of an independent Palestinian state is inevitable. In solidarity with the wishes of the Palestinian people, he reiterated that as a force for peace, stability and progress, his country supports full membership of the State of Palestine in the United Nations. The UN Security Council resumes discussions on Gaza on Thursday as worsening living conditions for civilians caught in the conflict pushes calls for a permanent ceasefire. The 15-member body, here in a closed-door session, the UN Humanitarian Reconstruction Coordinator for the Strip, Sigrid Kaag, appointed in December by the UN to reinforce the entry of supplies. UN agencies estimate that more than 85% of the population remains displaced, and the threat of death due to lack of food raises alarm bells, especially in the north of the enclave. On Wednesday, the head of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, said that 1 in 6 children is dangerously malnourished in the north, while the UN humanitarian coordinator for the occupied Palestinian territory, Jamie McGoldrick, said that hunger has reached catastrophic levels. UN Secretary-General Antonio Gutteres called for warring parties in Sudan to agree to a ceasefire during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan.
Parties in Sudan to honor the values of Ramadan by honoring a Ramadan cessation of hostilities. This cessation of hostilities must lead to a definitive silencing of the guns across the country and set out a firm path towards lasting peace for the Sudanese people. The values of Ramadan must prevail.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from South. On Thursday, human rights organizations highlight that more than 15,000 people have been displaced in the Haitian capital due to the increase of violence. Local sources warn that criminal groups with U.S. ammunition are on the verge of what could be a civil war. On the other hand, they also pointed out that the government in office is disqualified by these criminal groups while the Prime Minister remains in Puerto Rico. By decision of the State Department in Washington after the Dominican Republic rejected his entry into the country. In this sense, regional organizations have also failed to make progress in de-escalating a situation that has caused locals to wander around the capital to save their lives, without food and without security. In this regard, medical sources also reported about the increase in number of wounded and deceased, although there is still no official figure. In this context, the United States calls on violence-ravaged Haiti's Prime Minister Henry to expedite the transition to a new government structure and hold elections.
The situation on the ground grows increasingly dire. We in CARICOM have continued to call on stakeholders, including the Prime Minister, to make concessions in the interest of the Haitian people. So we are not calling on him or pushing for him to resign, but we are urging him to expedite the transition to an empowered and inclusive governance structure that will move with urgency to help the country prepare for a multinational security support mission to address the security situation and pave the way for free and fair elections.
In Colombia, after 2 days of work, the delegations of the country's government and the National Liberation Army announced the conclusion of the project to complete the design for the participation of civil society inside the peace process. During the 5th plenary of the National Participation Committee, the parties have considered the design of the strategy will continue with a detailed schedule made up of 26 meetings throughout the national territory. These events will be held in different cities, among them Buga, Puerto Berrio, Cúcuta, and Neiva. In this context, pedagogic tools for peace were one of the most relevant points of the agreements defined by the plenary sessions, and work agenda has been planned since March until May.
Participation is an essence of this process because there is no peace without participation of society, and to that extent this meeting is very important because it contributes to defining the whole design and participation. The plan that will lead from here the path of transformations. It says everything that participation contributes to the peace.
In Argentina, workers of the National Agency Talam responded to the President Javier Milei and demanded an end to his lies and disqualifications. After closing the media, a decision described as one of the most serious attacks against the exercise of journalism and democracy in the last 40 years, the head of state deployed an extraordinary police operation. According to what he explained, he decided together with the minister, Patricia Bullrich, insinuating also that the fence around the headquarters was related to the existence of violent actions which linked to the workers. In the face of the aggravation, the professionals released a video response.
We are no hooligans. We are professionals who want to work.
68 Nobel Prizes sent a letter to Argentine President Javier Milei in response to the cuts he will apply to science and education. In the letter sent to the President, to the Chief of the Cabinet Nicolás Posse, to the Head of the National Council of Scientific and Technical Research Daniel Salamone, and to the National Congress, they expressed their concern for the inevitable deterioration of the sector in Argentina and recalled the transforming contributions. In particular, he there referred to the valuable contribution in the area of medicine, stating that if it were not for Argentine science and scientists, the causes and treatment of cancer, diabetes, and heart disease would remain a mystery. In Havana, capital of Cuba, Cuban and international experts will analyze the challenges of digital communication in the third edition of Patria International Colloquium. The first Deputy Minister of Communications, Wilfredo González, explained that representatives from 16 countries have confirmed their presence at the scientific forum, while 67 companies dedicated to information technologies, digitalization, and artificial intelligence are expected to participate in the exhibition. González added that on the opening day of the convention, which will be held from March 18th to the 22nd, a high-level panel is scheduled to discuss the challenges of digital transformation. The colloquium will be a unique opportunity to explore the relationship between new technologies and communication, in addition to conferences, workshops, and exhibitions with experts from around the world. Patria will have a room for the representation of innovative projects and an immersive virtual reality room. We have a functional break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community or our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Functional break, don't go away. Welcome back. In the United States, in northeast Philadelphia, 8 teens were shot waiting for a bus after school. Police is still at the hunt for the suspects who fled. The students ages 15 to 17 were waiting just before 3 p.m. at the bus stop when 3 people got out of a car around the corner and walked up and fired at them at least 30 times, then fled. The incident marks the 4th shooting in as many days. The combined incidents have resulted in at least 3 deaths and more than a dozen injuries. 11 of the victims have been children, according to police. The incidents come as the United States grapples with an ongoing gun violence epidemic, particularly among youth. Firearms are now the #1 killer of children and teens in the country, having surpassed motor vehicles accidents, the leading cause of death among U.S. youth until 2020. The Conservative European People's Party, the biggest force in the EU Parliament, on Thursday endorsed European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen's bid for a second term. Having navigated multiple crises ranging from COVID to the Ukraine-Russia conflict as the European Commission head since 2019, the former defense minister is seeking a new mandate that would run to 2029. The backing of the EPP is key for the 65-year-old German, who needs to get the endorsement of the EU Parliament to be renamed to the post. A total of 400 delegates voted in favor of von der Leyen, while 89 voted against it at the party congress in Bucharest. In her words after the vote, von der Leyen thanked the EPP representative at the Congress, including lawmakers, party leaders, and 12 heads of states and government, for their trust, support, and determination.
We've done a lot of things right together in the last 5 years. The track record shows that. Europe has stood its ground under most difficult circumstances, and we have laid the foundation for a successful future. Now we must tackle the stages ahead of us with full concentration and with unity, and this is why I'm running for another term at the helm of the European Commission.
Russian President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday closed the World Youth Festival inaugurated in the city of Sochi on February 29th. In front of thousands of young people, he questioned the inequality that is growing in today's world.
We are born equal, but the question is whether we can believe in equal conditions. Unfortunately, the answer is no. There are no equal conditions for everyone in the world, and that is the main injustice of today's world.
On the other hand, President Putin encouraged young people to strive with more moral values to make the world a fairer place.
If you ask me if it is possible to create an environment where we can all be equal to develop an equal life for the future of every family and humanity, I don't know. But there is one thing I'm sure of: we should all try to reach that goal. The fact is that we have to try to make the world a more transparent, more equal, more sustainable, more balanced, and more democratic place.
In Burkina Faso, a private plane with 7 people on board crashed into a tree on Wednesday after failing to take off successfully in the eastern region of the country, killing 5 people and injuring 2 others. News agency The Information de Burkina reported that the plane took off from a local airport in the city of Diapaga, bound for the city of Fada Ngurma, when it crashed into a tree. The Ministry of Transport of the country informed that 2 injured persons were urgently taken to a health center and that the authorities had initiated an investigation on the accident. The Diapaga Fada Ngurma route has been difficult to access in recent years because about half of it is outside government control, as jihadist groups have been plaguing the landlocked nation for years. In Senegal, following the dissolution of the government on Wednesday, the President Macky Sall announced on the beginning of the electoral campaign for the general elections to be called on March 24th. The decision follows the ruling of the Constitutional Court, which considered illegal the intention to hold the suffrage after April 2nd, which would allow Sall to continue at the head of the executive power at the expiration of his mandate on that day. The suffrage was scheduled for February 25th, but the president suspended it due to alleged electoral disputes with the list of candidates, some of which have double nationality, Senegalese and French. However, the vast majority of the opposition rejected the postponement of the elections, calling it a constitutional coup d'etat.
This is
a good news for Senegalese democracy, because over the past few months, Senegal has been facing a rather difficult social and economic situation. Students and everyone else were in a rather anxious and stressful situation. I think Senegal will finally be able to breathe again. I think we are banging our heads for days and weeks. The country was in a state of uncertainty, but I'm proud to say that the Constitutional Council played its role to the full. We expected the Constitutional Council to play its part. It's true that there's been a lot of controversy over the last few days, but frankly, at the end of the day, we're still pretty proud to see that the Constitutional Council is independent and free.
On Thursday, Morocco's meteorological department emphasized that his nation has experienced record heat this winter, including the hottest January since measurements began. In this sense, authorities reported that the North African country, temperatures recently approached 37 degrees Celsius in the midst of the 6th consecutive year of drought. It should be noted that lack of water threatens the viability of agriculture, a key economic sector that employs about 1/3 of the working-age population and accounts for 14% of exports. In the meantime, local authorities highlight that in January, the average temperatures reached a record high, exceeding by 3.8 degrees Celsius the normal for the period 1991-2020. In this regard, data collected by climate organizations show that more than 1/5 of Europe and the Mediterranean region is in a drought situation, which would place it in the alert category. In Spain, the victims of 8 out of 10 childhood sexual assaults are girls or adolescents. This is what emerges from the study carried out by the organization Save the Children, entitled Silenced. On March 8th, International Women's Day, the study, which reviews the statistics per country, confirms that in Spain, in 2022, 18,731 complaints were filed, 82% of which had girls and teenagers as victims. In 97% of the cases, the aggressor is a man. The study also draws attention to the consuming of pornography, which has an impact on the process of sexual misinformation, as 7 out of 10 teenagers access this digital content from the age of 12. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.